On the interview segment for today, we focus on the River State's crisis as Wike and Fubara reach truce by means of the intervention of President Tinubu with a technical advisor on strategy and planning to the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress APC, Niyi Akinsiju, is our guest. Welcome to Politics Tonight. Please stay with us, everyone. Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. Now, let's begin with some developments in the polity. For the next 15 days, Nigerians will be paying half of the transport fare to their destinations. This is happening on a day President Bola Tinubu approved a 50% reduction in fares for interstate public transportation ahead of the Yuletide. The Minister of Solid Minerals, Dele Alaki, announced this when he addressed the press on the presidential intervention in public transportation. TVC News State House correspondent Femi Akonde has more.
Merry Christmas for interstate road travelers in Nigeria, because they have something to cheer about. The federal government intervention slashing the cost of transportation through the special discounted holiday season fare has remarkably reduced the price the poor and low-income earners in the country will have to pay.
In the spirit of Christmas and the end-of-year festivities, President Bola Tinubu, GCFR, in another demonstration of his love for Nigerians, has approved that the federal government should intervene to bring down the cost of public transportation to allow our compatriots who want to travel to visit their loved ones and hometowns to do so without stress and the extra burden imposed by the high cost of transport around this period.
The implementation of subsidy removal and other policies of government has caused a ripple effect that triggered a hike in prices of food items, transport and other services. This special intervention will begin on Thursday, 21st of December through to the 4th of January. The Interministerial Committee on the Presidential Intervention have also worked out modalities with unions and other stakeholders in the transport sector.
From tomorrow, that's the 21st of December, Nigerians willing to travel can board public transport at 50% discount of current costs, and all our train services on the routes the trains currently serve at zero cost to and fro on their travels this holiday season.
On the railway, we used to have 2 trips up, 2 trips down, Abuja, Kaduna. We are going to maintain that. Lagos, Ibadan is 2 trips daily. We are going to maintain that. Warri, Itape is 1 trip daily. We are going to maintain that.
There is always an increased movement of people, goods and services across the country during the Yuletide. This time around, President Tinubu is not only assuring them of a cheaper transport fare, but safer and secured roads to travel. President Tinubu's intervention is at no loss to road transporters, but at the cost of the federal government, and also not for those that can afford the luxury of air travels. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
And barely 2 days after President Bola Tinubu's intervention, members of River State's House of Assembly have adjourned the impeachment notice against the Governor Fubara. It is the first move taken so far in compliance with the agreements reached by the two parties. TVC News senior reporter Richard Okoro has details.
24 lawmakers resumed sitting at the House of Assembly quarters in Port Harcourt. The demolition of parts of the Assembly complex forced them to relocate. On the 30th of October 2023, hours after the legislative chamber was attacked, the lawmakers moved the motion of impeachment against the governor, citing misconduct. But they said the change of mind was motivated by the intervention of President Bola Tinubu.
We have immense respect for the person and office of the President of our dear country, and do believe that his advice and charge should be respected. We remain committed to our promises to our various constituencies and would continue to render our best to them with God on our side. And please, Mr. Speaker, do convey our gratitude to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Grand Commander of the Federal Republic, for his fatherly rule and commendable commitment to the unity of this country and enduring peace in River State in particular.
According to these lawmakers, the agreement to discontinue with plans to impeach the governor serves the interests of River State.
The manager of the Federal Republic of Nigeria intervened, and we cannot say no to his very senior and respected fatherly advice. So, Mr. Speaker, we are in order.
The Speaker also addressed speculations about the authenticity of the resolutions reached at the peace meeting in Abuja.
The governor was there himself. He personally signed. The deputy governor was there herself. She personally signed. I was there myself. I personally signed. The minister of the FCT was also there. He signed. The National Security Advisor was there in person. He signed. And other members of the House of Assembly were also there. They signed. The chairman of APC River State was there. He signed. And of course, the chairman of PDP was there. He too also signed.
The House at its 89th sitting also received a report of the ad hoc committee investigating the Aleto oil spill caused by a shell facility in Eleme local government area. Due to the Yuletide season, the lawmakers adjourned plenary to the 5th of January 2024. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Port Harcourt.
Now let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our guest of the day, who is the technical advisor on strategy and planning to the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Niyi Akisiju, for discussion on the River State crisis as Wike and Fubara reach truce by means of the intervention of President Bola Tinubu. Welcome back to the program, everyone. A glimmer of hope emerged in the political crisis plaguing River State as President Bola Tinubu's intervention on Monday yielded a significant breakthrough. And since then, there's been a lot of reactions to the resolutions resolving that crisis. And tonight, let's get the perspective of Mr. Niyi Akisiju, technical advisor, strategy and planning to the national chairman, All Progressives Congress. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Good to see you again.
Thanks so much. It's a privilege to be with you.
Right. So let's start with your overall impression about the president's intervention on that matter. I mean, River State was on a standstill until the president intervened in the political crisis. What's your impression?
Well, my natural impression is to say that thankfully, thank God, we have a peacemaker sitting at the highest office of the land. And we are seeing a trend, what I call a new trend in pacifism. That is a pacifist in place. For a pacifist, the option is always peace, no matter the circumstances, no matter the condition, no matter the situation. And this is the exhibition of the tendency of that trend that we are experiencing. So I first want to commend Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for creating this new vista in the political trajectory of the nation as we are growing. One, there is going to be a new chapter. We're going to open a new chapter in relationship, political relationship, which is important because it's going to also hallmark a new characterization of our political culture in the country. We have this tendency for a porous relationship. The average Nigerian politician has a way of holding on to his point of view and refusing to seek a middle ground. So, and this has become a major characterization. And of course, we have this in history. Yeah, even in the same River State that we're talking about, 2013, we know what happened, you know. Factionalization of the party, factionalization of the House of Assembly. The president, as at that time, stayed back. We saw how people got themselves injured, violence were visited on one another and all that. We do not need to keep on recording this manner of character, you know, this manner of conduct in the political books of Nigeria. So for me, this is a fresh air. And however I want to look at it, we have also seen a president that has lifted himself above partisanship. Because we are not talking of an APC state here. We are talking of a PDP state. So for the president, it's as if there's a commitment to intervening wherever there is conflict. And if that is even the minimum we can secure, you know, as a tradition or as a new culture, I think we should commend the president.
Right. So, I mean, a lot of words have been used to describe the final resolution to this crisis. But do you think some reactions to this matter are a case of misplaced priority? Because it gets interesting for some people that till now, both parties in this matter, talking about Minister Wike and Governor Fubara, none of them had come out to articulate the reasons for this crisis, why a state has to be on a standstill because two politicians have decided to go at loggerheads. And so an agreement or a resolution intended to calm nerves or help to de-escalate crisis is getting watershed by some people. How do you react to this?
I didn't get the early part of the question, but the tail end, what is important is this. Where you have two politicians engaging themselves in a conflict situation, what is essential is to find a way of resolving that conflict. Because the truth is that those two figures, those two principal figures in the arena are actually representation of various multifaceted interests. And to that extent, you have what you call the snowball effect if it's not properly managed. So where you have someone that can easily understand the dynamics at play and come into the arena to resolve the matter, it favors and it's of benefit to not just those individuals. It also pacifies the interest, the underlying interest that had actually triggered that conflict in the first instance. And again, we all know that conflict is of no use for any jurisdiction, political, geographical jurisdiction. So, and we are talking of people in the highest offices in those states, the governor in the state, in River State, and the minister who is representing that state. Now, it does mean that during that period of during the pendency of the conflict, it means that the benefit of democracy, which is essential, you know, in the development and the growth of the people of that state, will be subverted in the real sense of it. So, for me, the important thing is wherever two people are involved in what you call two fighting, because the truth is that you cannot exactly know in the public space all the issues that were at play that are now culminated into the conflict that we have seen in the public space. What we can do is to conjecture, and that is what most people are doing. And you in the social media, you see all manners of breaking news, all manners of dimensions of blackmail, all manners of dimensions of misrepresentation, you know. But the bottom line is that these are distractions to the management of the government for the good governance of the people of River State. And here we have a president who is an interventionist, who is a pacifier, and has been able to come out pacify the two groups who are not, they are not members of his party. So for me, it's a statesmanship at play. This is an exercise of statesmanship at the highest possible level.
All right. So these resolutions border on 8 issues. How fair do you consider them?
Please come again, please.
The resolution borders on 8 issues. How fair do you consider them?
I think they are fair enough. It's about going back to the status quo. A conflict was precipitated, and there was a need. I mean, after that conflict, a number of actions were taken. And I think what described that action in the first instance was that the two camps were ready to go at each other's throats, so much that a standing historical asset of the states was demolished. That's the chambers of the State House of Assembly. The other party were determined to remove the governors by starting an impeachment process. And of course, you also have some people claiming their right of relationship and their right of authority over the governor. You have some other people on this side who are also saying, no, we hold loyalty to a certain kind of person. And the people, more or less the people of the state, have become perplexed because of this confusion emanating from the seat of power. So the important thing was to come and say, let us go back to this status quo at this point in time and start correcting, redeeming the issues, as it were, from that point. So if one of the conditions was stop the impeachment process, that stabilizes the governor's interest. The other was all the commissioners that had resigned should also be taken back. It's simple, because those commissioners resigned in the first instance as a result of that conflict. The 27 members of the House of the State House of Assembly are required to be sustained, as it were, though they had crossed over to our party, to the All Progressives Party, and so they were to be sustained at that level. Now, that is equity, because they had decided to move as a result of conflicts, you know. So going back, and again, I think the governor is a person who has his head properly skewed on his neck, because he also knows that relating with an absolute minority, you know, in the State House of Assembly going forward would lead to issues of criminality and fraud, because whatever he might be doing, eventually, if it goes to the court of law and whatever platform, there may be a recount of all the things he had done, and he may be accountable, and we don't know what he should know, that he does not know what could be the end of it. So I think it's retracing, the governor had retraced himself. The State House of Assembly, from the news you just told us, had also stopped proceedings, impeachment proceedings, you know, and they had also even taken time off to go and enjoy the holidays with themselves, with their families. So, as far as I'm concerned, peace is back. And that is the principal thing. Peace is back in Rivers State. The Rivers State people can now concentrate on making their lives better. There is no longer the distraction of who is going to talk at us tomorrow. There's no longer the distraction of a prospect of violence. And we know that for certain, state assets are safer. So to a large extent, I think those conditions, 8 of them, are equitable, you know, and I think they serve the purpose of justice and democracy, as it were.
All right, so we'll get to compartmentalize these resolutions one after the other. But before then, we have the lawmakers who have begun to walk the talk by withdrawing the impeachment notice against the governor. How critical is this?
Very critical, because that was the first exhibition, the first outward show of the crisis. Let me use that word, the crisis. Nobody knew anything was going to happen until we heard that the State House of Assembly had commenced impeachment proceeding against the governor. And then we had stories of fire, you know, engulfing the State House of Assembly complex. And thereafter, so many other things started bursting into the public space. It's not those in Rivers State alone that felt uncomfortable. Every adherent of democracy and democratic process will not feel comfortable when there is more or less fire burning in any part of the jurisdiction of the Nigerian states.
Right, so another aspect of the resolution is the representation of the budget to the Amawule-led assembly. What do you make of this?
It makes sound judgment, because one, you have 4 members of so-called House of Assembly. Now, it does not even serve the purpose of logic or reasoning to have 5 members sit over the budget of a state. Some people had argued that the president does not have a right of intervention. It does not have a right to create that to facilitate that amicable resolution of this conflict, and that it is the new speaker with the 4 members that are the true and constitutionally recognized members of the House of Assembly. I said, where is the logic? Where is the reasoning? The Constitution, the Nigerian Constitution itself had itemized how many numbers of members of the House of Assembly how many members of the House of Assembly should constitute the House of Assembly at the minimum level and at the maximum level. And beyond that, an assembly cannot be seen, to be properly convoked when a quorum is not formed. And in the case of the Rivers State House of Assembly, a quorum is formed when you have at least 11 members seated. So, without that quorum, a house is not seen. The house is not seen to have been appropriately convoked. So, you now have 5 members with a supposed speaker, and if you are going to look at the whole gamut of the structure of an assembly, it will mean that amongst those 5, you have the deputy speaker. Amongst those 5, you have the chief whip. Amongst those 5, you have the deputy chief whip. Amongst those 5, you have the minority leader, and so on, and other principal officers. So it tells you, the hero of comedy, as it were. So I think it's appropriate that this should be represented, so that the legal process of considering and passing the budget, as it were, would be properly compiled with.
Right, so just like you said, it's highly commendable to see that the lawmakers have taken the first step by withdrawing the impeachment notice against the governor. But how confident are you that the governor will fulfill his own side of the bargain?
Well, I am not going to invest my confidence in anybody. We are going to continue to monitor the space, believing that all parties to this resolution, to this agreement, would act in good faith. And I believe that the governor and other participants knew what exactly they were up to before signing this agreement. The agreement was not signed by compulsion. That's we know. Some people are suggesting that, the governor had to sign the agreement because he had a gun, pointed at his head. And I said, no. I followed the processes of the dialogue and the eventual signing of the agreement. It was done in an atmosphere of camaraderie. It was conducted in an atmosphere, of peace, of friendship. So much that even after the agreement was signed, we heard that there was a small gathering of the two parties, of the two sides, to celebrate the resolution. So which means that none of the parties was actually interested in the conflict. And they cleaned glasses for the resolution of that conflict. And it means that the resolution was not only good for the people of the River State, but it was also good for the principal actors and players in the conflicts.
Right. So how important is it that the governor fulfills his own side of the bargain?
Very, very important, because the House of Assembly had shown good faith now by withdrawing the threat, and of course even any move at impeachment. It's a clear case of good faith and good conduct. I believe too that the governor will reciprocate, knowing the kind of person he is. My only problem is that there seems to be a dark thought force within the state that is egging the governor on, that is trying to play on the intelligence of the governor. But I think if the governor is practical enough, he will understand that it is better for him to play the role of the governor at this time and to play the role as of a peacemaker who, going forward, will be appreciated for what he has done in terms of physical development, capital development, social development for the people of the state, which will become a testimony, in his name going forward. Better than being known in years to come as a man who presided over a conflicted government, as a man who presided over violence. Because history would always be there for us. History will always be there to keep records and, of course, to account for whatever individuals are done in any offices that they are occupied.
Right. So, in other words, you're admonishing the governor to shun other loud voices on this matter, isn't it?
I am begging him, because we are seeing all manners of loud voices. We are seeing people of what I would call eminent Nigerians and eminent people from that state that one would naturally have thought that even if the president had not intervened in this matter, they would have facilitated this alternative dispute resolution platform for the governor. But unfortunately, despite this resolution and, of course, the immediate fruition of it that we are seeing, despite all this, some eminent indigenes of that state are still coming out, to excoriate the governor. And I hope the governor will not fall, to whatever their scheme may be. The primary thing, the focus before the government should be peace. And I know some other people had also said, oh, this is a convoluted peace. I said, no peace is convoluted. The important thing is that we have an environment where the governor can start translating whatever vision he has for the peaceful governance of the people of that state without distraction and, of course, without being bullied. And nobody, we are seeing from the argument, nobody is going to bully the governor. So I am praying, I am begging that the governor will see the good in this agreement and resist any temptation, resist any pressure to go on the offensive again.
All right. So, the resolution touched on 8 different issues, but was silent on the issue of defecting lawmakers. How do you think that should be resolved?
If there's an agreement, just like I said, there are different platforms of resolving issues. The immediate one, especially for those who talk about constitutionalism, is to go to court. And of course, we know that going to court, one, you don't know how long that will take. You don't know the outcome. In the immediate past week, we have seen 2 courts, making adjudicating on the matter and took out of the same coordinate position, ruling differently. So I think the best alternative available is to just take this matter as it were and let us resolve it as it has been resolved. Let us be committed to the resolution, and as much as possible, let us be trusting in each other.
Right, so the PDP has reacted to this issue. But before I get to that, the lawmakers who have defected to the APC, your party, what does it mean for the All Progressives Congress?
Without doubt, it's a gain for us. Without doubt. We have the opportunity of saying that the All Progressive Congress has an anchor, a political anchor in Rivers State now. It was not as such before now. I mean, before the last, since the change of government, we have seen Rivers State as principally a PDP state, but now it's an APC state, and we are hopeful, very hopeful, that going forward, the governor may actually have a change of mind and switch over to APC, because APC is still the party. And we have seen the conduct and the comportment of our president, the leader, the possibly highest leadership entity in the APC. We have seen how he has conducted himself, in the intervention in the matters of Rivers State, the Rivers State governor and the House of Assembly. So we believe that the governor, knowing how proactive, how practical, and how good intentioned the president is, would give consideration to working over, to the APC. It's a plus for us, and we congratulate those new members of our party. I'm sorry to use new members, because in our party, when you join us, you are seen and you are considered and treated as a member. You enjoy all the full rights and privileges of a member, a sitting member. So we welcome heartily the 27 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly that had crossed over, and they said so, that they felt the sagacity of the President of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that they were persuaded by the immediacy of infrastructure development that they are seeing, within their environment, and that they felt that this was a person that would be more impactful politically on their constituents. What other testimony can we give for this?
All right then, Mr. Akisiju, let's take a break. I've been speaking with a technical advisor on strategy and planning to the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC. And tonight we're discussing River State crisis as Wike and Fubara reach truce by means of the intervention of President Tinubu. When we come back, we will look at how the PDP has reacted to this matter. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Thank you so much for staying with us. Tonight, I've been speaking with a technical advisor on strategy and planning to the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Niyi Akisiju. And tonight, we focused on the aftermath of brokered peace as lawmakers withdraw impeachment notice against Governor Fubara. Mr. Akisiju, let's move on with this conversation. So now, the PDP has reacted. The party has come out to say there's no remedy for the lawmakers who defected to APC yet. How do you view this comments by the opposition party?
I'm sorry. The only way I can describe the PDP is that we have a party with a lost soul, trying its hand at resurrection. Unfortunately, it does not have the power of resurrection. Its PDP is more or less dead. Nigerians don't even see it as an alternative party. The party failed in government and failed as opposition. And I think it's even the expression of opinion as articulated by the acting chairman of the PDP is a little beneath average intelligence quotient, because a party don't come out and it's supposed to be a national party. It's not a peripheral party. It's supposed to be a national party. And you came out to make a substantive position, a substantive statement on a legal matter like that. It invokes, how do I call it? It invokes an attitude, a feeling of comic, in me. I just feel that PDP should be more serious. Should be more. I don't want to use the wrong word here, but should be more focused in terms of creating an image of seriousness for itself. It's not every matter that you jump into the arena. You say the acting national chairman, who is acting? Acting suggests that the party itself is not stable, because if you have a stable party, you have a substantive chairman. The secretary of that party is acting. If the party was stable, you have a substantive. When the secretary of the party went to contest somewhere, he left. There was so much rancor over his movement. He went to contest, and he came back, so much rancor for him to settle in. So whatever they have said in this matter does not hold any water. It is of no substance. It is of no substance because it is not in their place. It is not in PDP's place to pontificate on whether to pontificate on the right of those members that had moved over to the APC. It is just like somebody expressing a roadside opinion, as far as I'm concerned. If they are serious, what they would have done would be to seek out their interest in the public, in the courts, and tell us that by the time they were making this presentation, when the acting national chairman was reading or addressing the press, he should say that they have prepared their papers and they are already in court, and that this is what they are canvassing for in the court of law. It shows a more serious, a more profoundly committed party that wants to correct things. But coming out to dismissively declare that the 27 lawmakers have no choice but to go and seek election on other platforms to get back to the house, it smacks of comedy. And we are appealing to the PDP that the point Nigeria is, there is a need for us to have a substantive opposition party, an opposition party that can be the orchestrators of a strong alternative, profoundly substantive alternative point of view. So we beg the PDP to, if they have to go into a retreat to recalibrate themselves, to re-energize themselves, they should do, so that Nigerians can even have some little hope in the opposition. As it is today, what we have are comedians, and it is not worthy, of the Nigerian democratic trajectory as we are growing. We have a history of democracy. The world acknowledges how robust our democracy is, but it will be unfair for us to describe our democracy as a democracy with a weak opposition. What an opposition that should be able to counter us on whatever we are saying, fact for fact, issue for issue, substance for substance. That is the way we know that at every point in time, we will be up and standing and knowing that we will have some people on the other side to contend with. But as of now, those we are contending with are comical-minded people. They are comedians, I'm sorry to say.
Interesting. Now, let's go back to the resolutions. I mean, number 7 says the commissioners who resigned are to be reappointed. What impact do you think this will have on governance in the state?
It's a continuation of what they've been doing. Just like I was noted earlier, these commissioners resigned as a result of the conflict. And if the conflict would have to be resolved, we must go back to that status quo. The status quo is that at a point in time, they were members of the cabinet, and therefore, they resigned voluntarily. Of course, there would have been a number of stimuli in their environment at that time, that informed their resignation. Now, those factors at play within their environment have been pacified, as it were. So, to go back to those status quo is to also have them readmitted into the cabinet. And, of course, we are not going to lose, it means that we are not going to lose the experiences, of this collective set of people that resigned. They are going back to continue with whatever they are doing. They understand their governor very well. They have a relationship with him, and even from the little crisis they had gone through, it will also help them understand themselves better. They will understand the candor, the level of exposition, political exposition of the governor. The governor will also understand the extent and the limit of his behavior and conduct when it comes to relating with his cabinet. So there will be lesson learned, from this experience. There will be lesson learned, and I know if properly consolidated, it will be to the good of the people of Rivers State.
Right. So like I said earlier, a lot of words have been used to describe this resolution by some stakeholders. Persons like elder statesman Edwin Clark described this resolution as unacceptable. How will you describe such comments?
Well, I think actually I would have to concede one thing for elder statesman Edwin Clark, a man I respect so much. Because even at his age, he's still committed to the development of Nigeria. But in this matter, in this current matter, I think there is an error of articulation. And that error has to do with the fact that everything he canvassed for, everything he said in his press statement was pivoted on the fact that the resolution of the conflict was a slap on the Ijaw people. Now, to me, that is a narrow vision. You do not narrow this whole issue to ethnicity or to an ethnic factor. What I know is that the governor did not emerge governor as with the votes of the Ijaws alone. That is one. Then two, I also know that the governor was not selected by the PDP or did not emerge on the platform of the PDP as an Ijaw governor. But to the extent that the elder statesman had said that it was a slap, and an erosion of Ijaw value, I think that was narrow. And whatever may be the premise of his conjectures, maybe the premise of his assertions, I think they are eroded by that inclination to ethnicizing the whole conflict. I think it is not even good for the unity of the people of Rivers State. Because if there are 23 local governments in Rivers State, and as they say, 11 of those local governments are Ijaw, it will also suggest for those of us who are not properly stewed in the politics and the subnationalism, activism of the Rivers State, what it tells us is that it is not the it's not the absolute majority ethnic group, in the state. So we want to beg, whenever we have issues, and the truth is that this ethnic dimension that we put into serious issues in Nigeria had more or less eroded the values with which we measure how we should even respond to matters individually. So when we are talking of a clash between a conflict between a governor and its House of Assembly, and the only thing we are concerned about is that it impinges on the rights, the privileges of an ethnic group. That premise we are coming from is already predicated on a wrong premise, very wrong premise. So whatever the elder statesman said, I don't think it's appropriate, and I want to appeal to him that as he has been doing, as he has been conducting himself as a nationalist, that is what we want. People like us who have been following him for years. That's what we want to keep remembering him for. A man who stood for Nigeria at any point in time, a man who stood for issues at any point in time. Because whatever the case may be, the resolution of the conflict in Rivers State is not just good for Ijaw people, it's good for every member of the society of the Rivers State population.
Yeah, but then, do you see both sides in this crisis having genuine reconciliation afterwards? Reconciliation? Yes. Genuine reconciliation.
I think it's genuine reconciliation. I hope so. I think so, and I hope so. Again, there's no art, to measure the human's mind on the face. But the truth of the matter is, we as human determine our responses by our comportment and our conduct. The president had intervened. We are already seeing the comportment of the House of Assembly, where the governor himself had come out to talk about no sacrifice is too much for peace. He said that. No sacrifice is too much for peace to reign or to be sustained in Rivers State. It's an indication of where the governor is looking at, or is focused, as it were. And that's why I said we also need to talk to those third forces, the undercurrent interests, the multiple interests that are intended, on creating confusion and all that, and chaos. We need to talk to them to have the primary interest of the Rivers State people at heart. And that whatever may be their gain, it is better sustained in a peaceful atmosphere. Already we have lost the State House of Assembly complex. That's if it's going to be rebuilt, we'll be talking of billions of naira that could have gone into construction of roads, that could have gone into construction of hospitals, of schools, and all that. Now, if that conflict had been sustained, we don't know how many other state assets would have been engulfed, or would have been demolished, or would have been involved in some other disastrous thing. So we can only believe that everybody should have the good mind at resolving and being committed to the resolution of this conflict, as it were. And if peace, sustenance of peace, is the primary reason for the whole thing, peace and development is the primary reason for this conflict in the first instance, then peace had been secured. If peace had been secured, it is important that peace is sustained. And if peace is sustained, it would eventually reflect, in the dividends of democracy to the people of that state, in particular. And of course, we also know that River State is an oil-producing state. It will also reflect on the prosperity of the Nigerian states too.
All right then. This is really interesting because, just like Ondo State, we hope this resolution brings lasting peace to River State as well. But does the president have to intervene to clean up the mess created in states?
I said earlier in my opening address that historically, at least since the commencement of this our democratic dispensation, we have a tendency to stay and hold on to our position. And there is also that tendency where we evolved what had been called the federal might. So you see the major actors at the federal level, those who are in charge of the federal government, more or less using the privilege of the office of the federal government to oppress people at the subnational. And we have seen recorded in this country how a number less than 6 impeached governors over the years. We have seen how government at the federal level intervened, in the management of the subnationals, and in a way that speaks of master-servant relationship. Now, if we have someone that is coming in as a peacemaker, and in this particular case, either in the case of the Ondo State resolution, or in this particular case, we know that it was based on dialogue. It was not a directive. No direction was given. Every participant had an opportunity to express himself, him or herself. The governor was available. The deputy governor was available. Former governor, respected Dr. Odili, was available. So you had players in that jurisdiction being available, and the dialogue. So, and that's the most important thing. Nobody gave order. The president does not even have that attitude. It's not his character. He's a man of discussion, So, as far as I'm concerned, this peace was secured through discussion and through dialogue. And except we have other of these players subsume or got overwhelmed by some other forces or interests, which will be unfortunate. Except we have that situation, that's when we are going to have a turn, of what had been achieved. But I am praying and I'm believing that this had been achieved, just like what we have seen and what we are experiencing in Ondo State. Already we are seeing the reflection of development. We are seeing the impact of peace in Ondo State. So we feel by the announcement of the House of Assembly in Rivers State, we feel peace already. So, and that's the important thing. Right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Niyi Akinseju, Technical Advisor on Strategy and Planning to the National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress. Thank you so much for joining us tonight as we discuss Rivers State crisis as Wike and Fubara reach truce by means of intervention of President Bola Tinubu. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. We appreciate you.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure. Pleasure is mine.
And thanks a lot for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olataji. Good night.
On the action with Betano, your exciting destination for sports betting. Enjoy an award-winning experience with amazing betting options, cash outs and missions, as well as other features. Join now and get a welcome bonus of up to 200,000 Naira. Betano.ng, the game starts now.